Pain prevention tactics. Now, these are going to be somewhat simple, but maybe not so simple if you're not familiar with them. Stretching, heat, reduction of intensity. Now, anybody who's ever gone, and in fact, this is very timely, if you have done a New Year, New Me resolution, and you've gone to the gym on January 1st and you just are crushing it, the day after, yeah, you've done too much. And you're going to be in pain, you're going to be sore, you're going to have pain. Don't do that, please. But, you know, stretching, heat, reduction of intensity probably would have helped you get a little further. You're still going to be sore. If you went from a couch potato to trying to be Arnold, let's set our goals a little bit more realistically, one. And do the right things to get ready for that workout. I will tell you, the first time I did yoga, and this is 35 years ago, I was in it. I thought, yoga's going to be great. It's basically just stretching, right? And stretching and meditation. It's not. I have never been so sore in my entire life. And we warmed up, and we stretched, and we did all those things, and I got done with that yoga class, and I felt great. And I couldn't get out of bed the next day. So, anything, if you're going to go try to be Arnold, or you're going to try to be bendy like Madonna, just ease into it. This is one people don't talk about too much. Diet. And the end point is the real important one. Eating a healthy diet and maintaining a healthy weight. It's a huge difference. If anybody, and nobody here is really suffering from them, they might have somebody who's grossly overweight or obese, and they're having trouble with their knees or joints or any of those things, there's a reason you're having it. It may not be because of arthritis or because of X, Y, or Z. It could be because you're just too heavy for your body. You have to maintain a reasonably healthy weight. I'm not saying be skinny, kids. If you get between me and a piece of bread, it's not going to work out well for you. I like carbs. So if that means I have a little bit of softness in the middle, that's what we're going to do. And then the other one is, there is a huge amount of pain that is associated with dehydration. I always ask, him or people around me if there's like, oh gosh, I've got to have all the things. I like hydration. It's one of those things that if you're troubleshooting something, if everybody's very familiar with the troubleshooting process, is you have to check off the things. What isn't it before you get to what it is? And dehydration is a huge one. Talking about exercise, moderate exercise or light exercise. Walking for 10 minutes a day if it's something that you can do, and if that's the most that you can do, that's a lot. It's great for you. So regular exercise. One of the biggest things that I talk to people who have arthritis is don't sit on the couch. I know it hurts, but do not stay still. Atrophy is the biggest accelerator of arthritis. You got to keep the joints moving. You have to keep the body moving. It's the whole concept of something at rest is going to stay at rest, something in motion is going to stay in motion. If you want to stay in motion for a good long time in your life, stay moving. Sleep. Who has trouble sleeping? Nobody has stress. Nobody has sleepless nights. I have the worst insomnia. It's really quite awful. But getting enough good quality sleep is important. And those words are important. Doesn't mean 8 hours. It means whatever is enough for you. If you're in pain, you might need more. If you are not and you need less, then you need less. But quality sleep is important. One of the things I've been researching recently for a video that's coming up on our web series, it's about anxiety, stress, and sleep. It's the bedtime hygiene. There's a proper way to go to bed and there's an improper way to go to bed. Particularly now, as we're starting to get more light, is follow this, if you can. I'll say this with a caveat, the asterisk. If you can follow the pattern of the light, as it's starting to get darker, don't turn on more lights in your house. Turn on less lights in your house as you're getting ready to go to bed. The quality of that light is really important because the photosensitivity of your eyes triggers the brain, and there's something called the circadian rhythm of your body. We are animals. We are creatures of this earth. There's times and cycles to wake, and there's times and cycles to sleep. You have a cycle. So as your day progresses, less and less light. Leave your phone away from your bed. I am ridiculously guilty of not doing this, and I suffer the consequences of it. Read a book instead. My husband says that I don't like to read books at night because it makes me go to sleep. I'm like, well, that's good. If you got 2 pages in and you go to sleep, great. you're going to go to sleep. If you sit on your phone for 4 hours, that's less good. Right? Stress management, because nobody has problems with that either. No. Silly. We don't live in the world. Reducing stress through meditation, mindfulness, deep breathing, or other techniques. It sounds simple. It sounds overly simple. It is, but it isn't. Taking a couple seconds and doing some breathing, just kind of chilling out when you want to throttle the person who grew up in Ohio and learned to drive in Ohio. They're my favorite. I said one time when I was younger, when I first moved here from Michigan, that I think in my next career I'm going to be a freeway sniper. Just watching the people, I'd be like, yes, that's the left lane. No, you're not going the speed limit. You're done. Stress related via driving. Taking 5 breaths might have just changed that attitude completely. Be like, that's okay. Give them some grace. Mindfulness. Having some intention through your day, and I think this is one of the other things that we talked about in my interview, is doing things with intention means you're maybe not accomplishing as many tasks, but you're finishing tasks. You're finishing thoughts. You're not running around like Hammy the squirrel from Over the Hedge, if anybody saw that, right? And you're not running through your day and not thinking about it, because our lives are, as we sometimes think they're very long, but they're really very short. Treasuring those moments and just walking through the world with a little more of intention, that will help manage stress. Posture. You don't need really, you will develop them, but you don't really need strong core muscles to stand up straight, as your grandmother wanted you to stand up straight. Your posture is terrible. Working and resting, and not just standing when you should have good posture. Sitting, you should have good posture. Because I hunch over my computer a lot, so I've been training myself to sit up straight and, work when I'm sitting at my computer with more posture. It reduces fatigue on your body, which in process will reduce the amount of pain that you experience. Avoid unhealthy habits. Those are hard to do. Avoid excessive alcohol use and smoking. Bad. Chronic pain. Those two things, as much as you think that smoking is grounding or whatever you think it is and it helps you or whatever, or drinking will help medicate your pain. It will. For a little bit. And then it won't. And then it's worse. So I'm not going to tell you not to drink, because when I did, I enjoyed a martini. I don't drink anymore, but just because I found it was one of those things that in my life no longer served me. And I was kind of like, okay, well, this is boring. I'm not going to do this anymore. Plus, it's expensive. Good grief. All of those habits, the good things that you kind of like drinking or whatever, they're really expensive. If you want to save money, don't drink. All right. Holistic responses. It's not all about taking a pill. I know that this is simple, but it is just when you are in the chronic pain world or you're in pain, there are other things than going to the doctor and getting some sort of steroid injection or painkiller or whatever it is. There are different modes, and I'm not saying they are for everyone, but they are certainly things that you would want to consider and perhaps explore. Acupuncture. Has anyone ever had it? It sounds scary. It is not. It really isn't. I thought so too. I used to have a verdant fear of needles until I started getting acupuncture. The needles are so micro thin that you don't even feel them. All they're doing is they're based on Chinese philosophy of zones and acupoint that influence different parts of the body. There are parts of your body, like you're having knee pain, they might put a needle in your toe, which I was like, that sounds odd, but it works because there's a pressure center, there's an acupressure point in your toe that deals with your knees. I don't know how it works. I know enough about how it works, but I am not a Chinese master or an acupuncturist. So I am not going to venture into saying that it is something that I know enough about to go into it. I've done a study of Chinese medicine, but not acupuncture. It's certainly something I'm fascinated by, but I've used it, and it can be effective for chronic pain. And the more you do it, the more effective it is. It's great. And I would much rather have somebody stick a needle in my toe than take pain medications that they have on the market today, which do work, but it's an asterisk, they work, but. Chiropractic care. Important. It's not for everybody. except for the people that the now or soon to be now defunct TikTok has a lot of chiropractic videos. Lots of people are it's ASMR, but it's like back cracking. Like they have chiropractors that are on there and they film themselves doing these adjustments, and it's remarkably satisfying to watch somebody else get an adjustment. I don't know, for me, it's probably a sick thing I've got, but it is that way. I enjoy chiropractic care. It is great. I think there's something to it. I don't think it's for everybody. So, massage. It's great. People really, really, really underestimate the power of manipulating the flesh and manipulating the muscles for pain relief, stress reduction. I have found that it has become really expensive. But it's a skill that if you know how to do it right, you should be charging enough for it. So, but it is one of those things that it might be a luxury or it could be part of your treatment plan. The nice thing is a lot of HSAs will cover it now. You know, you can put that as part of your health care. Beginning. It's not there yet, but that should be part of it. Holistic psychotherapy. If you talk about it to somebody who's receptive and somebody who's not going to judge you and that can empathize with you, it can often help you process the psychological symptoms of pain. Cold therapy. On one hand, hot, warm, heat. There are certain things, certain times when heat therapy is applicable. And we are going to talk about it. There are certain times when it is not. Just because you think it feels good, it could be the worst thing in the world to put heat on something, particularly if it's inflamed. An injury, heat therapy is probably the worst thing that you can do with it. Cold therapy, on the other hand, might be something that you will find relief with. Now, during the process, it may not be terribly comfortable because it's cold, but it's going to reduce inflammation. That's what it does. And it can reduce bleeding, obviously, even if it's something that's internal, it can reduce that if it's cold therapy, and reduce pain. And there are other complementary therapies that include hypnosis, meditation and mindfulness, Tai Chi, and my favorite, yoga. The thing about yoga and the thing about Tai Chi is that you are both paying attention to yourself and distracting yourself at the same time. Because if you're focused on the movement and the breath, the mindfulness of being where you are at the moment, you don't think about sometimes the pain that you're in, or you are in if you're sitting on the couch. You're engaging your mind, so it helps to distract yourself as well as put yourself in a place where you're doing something productive for yourself. Now everybody, that's what they came for. This is the money. Herbs for pain. So, I will say this to you. We are going to talk about several of them. We're going to demonstrate a couple of them. There are any number of herbs that can be useful for pain. I have isolated them into a few. Not every herb that says it's for something, we talked about this earlier, it's an individual response. You may not respond to arnica. Other people might. You might not respond to cat's claw bark, but other people might. Or you might, and your neighbor might not. We're going to talk about a few of them. Arnica. It's also known as leopard's bane, if anybody is an old-fashioned gardener. Arnica is a flower. It's somewhat daisy-like, and they are a topical analgesic. They're an analgesic, so analgesic means pain reliever. If you look at a box of aspirin, it says that it's an analgesic. Just so when you see that word, if you're not familiar with it, and I'm not trying to dumb down the room, analgesic means pain reliever. So the lactones that are in it reduce inflammation, prevent swelling, it reduces stiffness, and it speeds up recovery. So yoga or workouts, arnica. It enhances blood circulation. So part and parcel of pain relief is the flow of blood to a particular location. Arnica is something that enhances blood circulation. I don't know if we're talking about it, I think we are, but I'm not sure if we are. Rosemary is another one that accelerates blood flow. If you've got broken skin, cuts, things like that, don't put arnica on it. Because the active components can be absorbed too quickly and could lead to irritation. I'm not so concerned about toxicity if you're putting a little bit of salve on something because you're not going to overburden your body with it, but just do not ingest large, this is the comment I was just about to make, do not ingest large quantities of it or undiluted. And pregnant and breastfeeding women should avoid using arnica because it is an accelerant of blood flow. There are certain things, because a woman is pregnant, that would induce cramping, induce spasms, and things like that. There are certain herbs. If that woman wanted those things to happen, that's one thing, and I won't say that. But there are times when you do want to induce that. But today we're talking about pain relief, so we're not talking about that. So pregnant and breastfeeding women should avoid using arnica. Black pepper. I love black pepper. Everybody likes it. It's good to eat. And it is an effective pain reliever. It's a capsaicin, just like chili peppers. It's just a different kind. The compound in is pepperine. It's anti-inflammatory and, buzzword, analgesic. It inhibits certain enzymes that promote inflammation. So it is inhibiting inflammation before it starts. It's great for nerve pain. A lot of times nerve pain, if it's not caused by damage to the nerve or deterioration of the nerve, is swelling of the tissues around the nerve. So great for arthritis, great for headaches, really great for neuropathy. Like, really great. There's another herb I think we'll be discussing, which is skullcap. The combination of those two for nerve pain, incredible. And on top of the fact that it does these things actively, it also works with other herbs. So it helps to make sure that the bioactive chemicals in other herbs and other things are readily available. Technically, this is a term in herbalism that if you're not familiar with it, it's called an adaptogen. So an adaptogen changes the body chemistry and the body to accept the changes and reduce stress, but to accept the changes of other things that you're taking. So if I am taking something with ashwagandha, the ashwagandha is there for certain things, stress relief, sleep, whatever, but it's more so the adaptogen that I'm taking that's making my body ready to accept other herbs. So the only thing about black pepper is that in large amounts, it can interact with medications, particularly if you're taking something for your liver. It's not that it's going to affect your liver, it's going to interact with medications. Chamomile. Beautiful. Self-sowing annual. Love it, love it, love it. Have piles of it. I use it for, it's a great digestive antispasmodic. So we talk about spasms. This is an antispasmodic. So when we talked about spasms, muscle spasms, pulsing pains, chamomile is a good thing to use for it. Anything for gastro issues, cramps, bloating, gas, chamomile. It's great. It's also a sedative. So while it is not an active pain reliever, it's an antispasmodic. It does have some analgesic effects, not a lot, but it's more of the complementary ability that I talk about it here. Herbalism, as you'll find if you venture into this more fully, is about the combinations. People are always asking me at markets or shows and things like that, what's a good herb for whatever the condition is? And sometimes it's one, but sometimes more likely it's not. It's 7 or 4 different herbs that work in combination that is probably the most effective. I would never tell somebody just to take X, because they will take more of it than they need to, and it will have some effect to it, but there's other ways to make it more effective. There are some counterindications if you have allergies to daisies. There's a whole class of things like feverfew daisies, chamomile, and a few others that there's a certain, something in the pollen is specific for allergies. Just avoid that if you need to. Just if it's something that is not good for you, don't take it. Medication interactions with blood thinners and sedatives. The reason it's an interactive with the sedative is because if you're already getting a sedative, don't take an extra sedative. And as far as the blood thinners, there's a lot of people who are on them, and there are a lot of people who, or at least one person I know, that I took them off of them because they were causing too many problems, and I could give him a better, more natural way of solving this problem than a blood thinner, which worked, but caused way more negative things than the positive aspects of the blood thinner. So.